Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, November 21st City Council meeting. Clerk, please call the roll.
Here. 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 Here.
Here. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Moving on the agenda here, we have public comment. This public comment portion of the meeting is for items that are not on the agenda this evening. So is there anyone here for public comment, once again, for items that are not on the agenda this evening? See none? Moving on to consent agenda, items 5A through 5G. I am looking for a motion to approve those items. Alderman Strack?
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Alderman Santee?
I will second the motion.
Thank you. Discussion on these items. Alderman Gleb?
Yeah, Mayor, I believe we just needed a correction on the motion that was made by Alderman Strack at last meeting on the agreement between the chamber on the buildings. It says that the motion was passed as presented, and it wasn't. The actual motion that Alderman Strack put in there was the addition that there was no liability to the city on the tax, and just already talked to our city clerk, and just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that that needed to be changed, just so that somebody looks at the motion later, there's no doubt about it.
Sure. Yep. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Alderman Santee?
Just note, Shamrocks, this is the first time we're going to do a Friday, correct?
Yes, and this is kind of a one-time thing. It only because it lines up, St. Patrick's Day falls on a Friday. That's why we're doing it. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it on a Friday. But because it lands on Friday and everything will be set up, we'll go with it this year.
And if it works out well, then what happens?
That's not anything we've talked about at this
Okay.
point. It was really because it's St. Patrick's Day was the big thing.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions, comments regarding these items? Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Next item on the agenda is 6A, is a fence variance for Knapheide Equipment Company. I am looking for a motion to pass an ordinance approving a fence variance for Knapheide Equipment Company located at 2600 Illinois Route 120 to allow a reduction in the corner yard setback along Adams Drive with the required 15 feet to 0 feet. Ross, do you want to add to that?
No, you did pretty well.
Thank you.
I think it's pretty basic. I don't know if anybody got out to take a look at the site, but it is in front of a detention area. They want to be able to secure the site without having to navigate the bank of the detention facility. So to go around it, it made sense to staff.
Thank you. So I'm looking for a motion. Alderman Miller?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second. Alderman McClatchy? Thank you. Discussion on this item by council? Alderman Gleb, go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I was wondering is with the detention pond, there's a driveway right there. And is that going to still leave the 30-foot open there?
Yeah, so the fence, they have a gate at that fence, and that is set back. That fence already exists there, and it's set back that 30 feet. So you can pull into that driveway, get out, open the fence, pull in. You're in the driveway, not on the road when you're opening the gate.
Right, but what I'm getting at is when you come out at the intersection, do they still, the fence doesn't impair the sight line?
No, they will have to abide by that site triangle.
Okay, that's fine. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments by council? All right, I'll open up for public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a public comment regarding this item? See none? Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
He anticipated his name. How do you know that?
I'm just trying the mic out, you know.
He was the second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, council. Next item on the agenda is 6B, a budget amendment and facade grant for 1251 to 1253 North Green Street. I am looking for a motion to approve an ordinance amending the fiscal year 22-23 budget in the amount of $2,710 and the approval of a facade grant application for the property located at 1251, 1253 North Green Street in the amount of $2,710. Director Martin, do you have anything to add?
Just be here to answer questions if there's questions.
Thank you. All right, I'm looking for a motion. Alderman Santi?
I'll make a motion to approve the facade grant at 1251 to 1253 North Green Street and the budget amendment in the amount of $2,710.
Thank you. Alderman McClatchy for a
I'll
second.
second it.
Thank you. Discussion on this item by council? Alderman Miller?
I just wanted to comment that this is exactly what this facade grant is for, is to take these old buildings and make them look better. So I was glad to see this in our packet. Thank you, Director Martin.
Any other questions or comments by council? Alderman Glad. Alderman Glad, go ahead.
Yeah. The only thing I really don't care for is the fact that, I'll agree that, that's what, the facade grants are there for, but, if this came up, under the new year, it'd be one thing, but it wasn't budgeted for this year, and to take and, make budget amendments, for extra, facade grants, we're kind of opening up the door to a lot more facade grants than what we normally would have. And, I just feel that, if we were going to give out the facade grants, that maybe they would have to wait till the following year if there's no money left in the budget at this time.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Open up for public comment. Is there anyone from the public that'd like to make a public comment regarding 6B? See none? Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
No?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Next item on the agenda is a discussion item regarding the city refused contract, leaf collection service update. Director Strange, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. So obviously by now, all of you are well aware of the struggles that we've had with our leaf collection services this year. The letter issued by Flood Brothers just went out at the end of last week, and they are here to appear before council to give an account of their struggles to date, why that happened, what they're doing about it both now and in future contract years. We have Mike Flood, who is our municipal services manager, and then Paco Paulo is the route manager who handles the day-to-day operations in the city of McHenry.
Thank you. So, Mike, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the podium, kind of give your update. The public will have an opportunity after the update and response by the council. We'll go ahead and let you have the opportunity to speak as well. So, Mike, go ahead.
Good.
There you go.
Good evening, council and mayor and staff. Thank you for allowing our team to be here tonight. I know it's not something, a conversation that, we enjoy having, not something we've had before. When you awarded us this contract, I believe you did it on our merit, on our service capabilities, our history, our tradition as a company, and obviously pricing comes into play. We've never had in the history of our company a situation similar to this where we've fallen behind in collection matters. And we're here to tell you tonight, as I did in the letter, that, we've fallen behind. We apologize from, my family, from our management team, from our staff, our operations team, the drivers. We're fully aware of it. And when we're not taking it lightly, and it's not something, we enjoy waking up every day and going to bed every night knowing that the residents in McHenry have to deal with leaves sitting out at the curb that, should have been collected. It's our intention, it's our commitment to you guys that we're going to keep the foot on the gas and continue to perform this collection until every leaf that gets set out at the curb is collected. and that means going past our December, cutoff date. We have had struggles, and it starts with, equipment. The equipment that we've had, we did not have, accurate data in the RFP process on the leaf collection. The leaf collection totals were not, part of the raw data that came with it, the tonnage totals. So we used estimates from another community that we do leaf vac in and kind of use the multiplier to assume the leaves in McHenry, at which point we added a second vehicle to our collection process. And as the season began and the early November leaves began to fall, we added a third piece of equipment to our fleet. We've had issues with those, whether it's mechanical issues or whether it's things that get caught in the vacuum system in the impeller that causes the vac system to go down. Our mechanics have parts and a capability, to put the parts on for garbage trucks. Getting the parts for the leaf vac collection has been a process. We're taking steps to get that corrected and, make sure that we have adequate equipment in the community to be able to keep it moving without interruptions. We're performing 10-hour work days, 7 days a week. And, some of the things that, we've seen that have helped is when Director Strange and our operations team worked to allow us to dump locally in the community. What that allowed us to do was pretty much double the amount of loads that we could collect in a day, as opposed to taking those leaves to the disposal site. So that's been a huge help. We've roughly probably dumped over 100 loads in total throughout the season to date. We see, things that come into the collection. I mentioned, the VAC, but also landscapers and other communities that we provide yard waste collection in, as we do also provide the leaf vac in. Landscapers don't use the yard waste collection service. This year, in this contract, differently than years past, McHenry residents had to put a sticker on the debris that they set out, not for leaves, but overall yard waste. So we've never seen yard waste set out from landscapers. We've seen landscapers bringing back, linered leaves to the curb and piles rising. But at the end of the day, our job is to pick them up and make them go away and eliminate the calls, not only to Director Strange, but to you as the representatives of your wards. I'm not satisfied. My family's not satisfied. Our team's not satisfied. I know there's not much that I could sit here tonight and tell you, hey, tomorrow everyone's leaves are going to be picked up, and this problem's going to go away. We're working to put our plans in place for next year. We've had year one struggles. It's evident, everyone knows it, but we're taking what we've learned and going to continue to process through the rest of this year, and hopefully have, conversations with Director Strange to hopefully see, things that we could correct moving forward for years 2, 3, and 4, and 5. We're committed to you guys. We're committed to live out the contract and the, the services that the residents come to get. I don't know if, I've hit all the points that maybe cover any of your questions or concerns, but like the mayor said, I'm here, and Director Strange said I'm here to answer any of those questions and hopefully give you guys some information that you can take back to your constituents.
Thanks, sir. I'll open it up for questions by council. Alderman McClatchy?
Thank you, Mayor.
Microphone.
Gotta get used to that, I guess. Thanks for coming to McHenry. I got a question for you. Do you think you're in breach of contract with the city of McHenry?
Do I believe we're in breach of contract? I would say no.
Okay.
I guess I'll leave it at that.
Okay. If you had an employee, a new employee, that didn't show up for 5 weeks, and every week they'd say, oh, we're going to show up next week, and they didn't show up, what would you do?
The employee didn't show up to work and they
For 5 weeks.
5 weeks?
Yeah, you just hired him.
He probably wouldn't, or she would not be employed much longer.
Thank you. That's it for now.
Thank you. Any other questions? Alderman Miller?
Thank you, Mike, for coming. Clearly, we're as frustrated as you are about this process because we're receiving the calls and the emails as well. What can we do to help you catch up? I know in my ward, I've had several residents reach out to me, and I've passed it to Director Strange, that haven't had any service at all. And they're like, oh, we're at the end of the cul-de-sac, or oh, we're in the back of the subdivision. Would it help you to have specific lists of where these folks are and where you've missed completely, or what can we do to help you catch up?
Yes, thank you for the question, and the, appreciation for the service. Director Strange and Elizabeth, from Public Works have been, pretty much providing daily kind of areas that haven't, that they receive calls on. If there's other community areas and associations and cul-de-sacs or neighborhoods that have not been touched or maybe not have a full collection process, please, continue to send those. I don't know if everyone here has my contact information. I believe when we were originally here, I gave my cards, but I'm here to give it tonight again. Feel free to reach out to me direct and provide me that information. I know if there's residents here that are having issues, I'm going to walk by them and give them my card too. We're here to perform a service. Our name's on the truck. All right, it's something we stand by. We've been doing this a long time. Leaf collection is a little different than garbage recycling in your standard yard waste, but we've done it before. We're still doing it. But if you have those, just send a list, the street name, and we'll jump on it. I would like to circle back on Alderman McClatchy. Apologize if I didn't pronounce that right, but to think through that question.
Actually, you did pretty good.
Okay. I would also take into account any, issues or considerations that maybe that employee had in understanding the situation, as opposed to jumping to my quick answer of no.
Yeah.
I would
Nice comeback. The only thing I talked to your brother, I believe brother Pat.
That's correct.
I talked to him on the 4th, and that was the 4th of this month. So I was getting complaints before that. City staff got involved. So my concern is we're hearing all these, I don't want to say excuses, but we're hearing all these things that, oh, it's going to get fixed, and it doesn't get fixed. So, that's a concern.
And I agree 100%. I think if there's somebody here in the community that has not had that set their leaves out November 1st or October and has not had a service, that's something that we're not aware of, and it should be addressed. It's a journey, and we don't want to make excuses. There is no excuse that I could sit here tonight and tell you that is going to give you comfort in going to bed tonight to not have to wake up to a resident, saying they didn't get their leaves picked up. It's our job to get out there and perform it and keep the foot on the gas and keep going until everything gets done. And it's unfortunate year one struggles. I think our team has learned a lot just in the last few weeks and in this process, learning the community to be able to, identify things that once the season's over and everything's done, put together a plan to bring before, you, Director Strange, and the council, and see what would work and accommodate that would help bridge through all these troubles.
Thank you. The only thing I could say is I don't know who you service out there, what other communities. McHenry is real picky. We like our lawns clean. We like the leaves taken away. So, that's what we're doing. So, thank you.
So, Mike, I've heard Sue, I think you mentioned this last time, that you actually put them in your containers. Does that help if they're actually in containers that people, no? Yes? Yeah, does it help if they actually put them in 55-gallon drums?
I would tell you, if residents collect their leaves in their lawn and put them in a bag, a craft bag, or a personal container, and set it out at the curb, there's unlimited yard waste collection at no charge to the resident. Whether you're a paying resident in the CART program or a resident that doesn't pay the monthly fee and is a part of the sticker program, every resident can put those curbs, and that is where our fleet is out there on that collection day that they get collected. It's the leaf vac process that has fallen behind. It's not the garbage, the recycling, or the standard yard waste.
So just for council's clarification, through the scoping process, we had scoped unlimited yard waste for the purposes of, that began actually when we had the conversations about getting rid of the Saturday yard waste drop-off. So, yard waste is still unlimited per what we scoped, through our, meetings, I think they even started back when we had Public Works Committee meetings. And I think, Flood Brothers, would acknowledge that there was probably an overestimation in the participation in the bag, tub, and bundle program, that you assumed maybe was going to reduce some of the load on the bagging.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, historically, in the other community we saw, a strong decline, when we were doing leaf back and they get yard waste, they don't have to use stickers. Another thing, Alderwoman Miller, I would address, to your residents in your ward, to make sure when they're putting the leaves at the curb, or on their, front drive, no sticks, no branches, no other material outside the leaves. Now, I know when going through the community, you'll see kind of mulched up leaves, from residents using the lawnmower. That's okay. It's not ideal to have grass clippings in there, but it happens. It's the sticks and the limbs and things of that nature. I drive by and I see piled on top. That's going to be where the guy probably will pass it because it's going to cause a problem. So if they know to avoid that, would be, a huge help.
Go ahead, Sue.
I do want to compliment the yard waste guys. I am one of those, big maple tree owners, and I literally had 16 totes out of leaves last week, and your guys are great. They're like, no worries, we'll take it, just load it up. And I did, and I felt awful. But I have been telling my constituents to do the same thing. The concern is not as much leaving it on the curb or laying in the ditch. It's that they just blow around as soon as the wind picks up. So I've been encouraging people who've been reaching out to me to put it in anything, put it in any vessel and just get it to the curb, and the yard waste guys will take it. So I do want to compliment your yard waste guys. They've done a great job, at least in my neighborhood, because I've been encouraging a lot of people to use anything they have to put it out there. So thank you.
So I think that's maybe something we can put on social media, that if, obviously we have issues, everyone knows it, but I think if we put something on social media or Nixle, to get this out, that those that want to get the leaves up, which I think is everybody, if they do have totes, to go ahead and put them in totes so we can try to get rid of the leaves quicker. I think that'll help. Of course, we're kind of stuck here and we're trying to help and trying to get this resolved, but let's go ahead and get that out as soon as possible, please, Troy. David, go
Yeah,
ahead.
we need a little bit more specifics. How many machines do you have out there?
So currently we have 3 trucks out there doing collection. We have a fourth
They all
piece.
work. How many are broken?
How many are broken? Well, we have a fourth piece of equipment that is waiting on parts.
And when
and
is
so-
that expected to be fixed, or don't you know?
I don't know. I couldn't give you that. Well, it's not even it hasn't even touched the street here in McHenry. It's an additional fleet. Part of the problem that we face in identifying, equipment is we're in the middle of the season. So there's not much available out there. It's a 2-month, collection process. So you can't rent. So when we took on McHenry and it said, you need 7 trucks to do the community, there's backlogs to buy new trucks into 2023, into 2024. So we rented vehicles and put it out throughout all the different communities we service. You can't rent leaf trucks. So I can't just, go to the, store and get one. So we have 2 working pieces of equipment in town and a third one that's going to be back out on the street tomorrow that got finished today.
So you have 3 that work.
Correct.
So there'll only be 3 on the street this week.
Correct.
And
Assuming no trouble.
if that's the only 3 you ever have and the 4th one stays home, how long will it take you, assuming they don't break, how long will it take you to finish the city?
I would give you the answer that if all 3 continue to perform
I
as
just
we
said
would
that,
wish,
Assuming they all.
correct, I would tell you by the end of next week, we will be caught up. But we were going to continue to go until Director Strange tells us you're good to go. So we're going to
Caught up,
continue.
I mean, we're at the end of the month, at the end of next week, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But we go into the first week of December.
I thought it was by December 1 they had to be finished.
I believe the contract language is the end of the first week in December.
Okay.
Yes.
So you'll have 1 week after that, if all goes well this week with 3 pieces of equipment.
Correct.
Alderman Santee, go ahead.
Thank you. Microphone. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Alderman Ricardo, for taking care of a couple of my questions.
I'm always here for you.
Mike, how many other municipalities do you have the LEAF program with? Or how many? Or do you have a couple, or how many do you have that you do LEAF?
So out of the 30 municipalities that we service, we have one other community that contracts for LEAF VAC in the contract services.
Okay.
And that's the Village of East Dundee.
Okay, and when was that, when did that contract begin?
Well, the contract began, I believe, in 2007 or 2008, somewhere in the late, late 2000s, early 2010 maybe.
Mhm.
Sorry, I don't know off the top of my head. That program did not start till about 2 years ago.
Okay,
That's when they had interest in the request.
and so they made a request and you guys agreed to it, whatever that being, don't want to know numbers or anything, but you agreed to do that. To our Attorney Ricardo's point, and one of my concerns was, even when I hear the number 3 or possibly 4 pieces of equipment, I'm not an expert, but I just don't believe that is enough equipment to resolve this situation looking into next year. We're here today and it's recovery time, and as quick as we can do that, we're working with you to get this recovered. But that being said, I'm definitely very concerned about, if I ask our Public Works Director Strange that how many pieces of equipment is Flood going to have next year, and if I get the answer of even 4, that's going to be a red flag to me, and I'm going to keep an eye out on that. That's just a concern that I just have for next year, because I know previous companies, I think, have at certain times have been out with possibly 6 to 7 pieces of equipment at one time, doing it in an efficient manner. And the other thing I have, I guess this might be directed first towards Public Works Director Strange. When we did our request and agreed to work with Flood Brothers for 5 years, how many other disposal companies agreed to a formal proposal to us with the requirements that we requested?
We received 2 proposals, Flood Brothers and Lakeshore Recycling.
So is there something in there that is this a concern that we've got to take a look at, even past further out than 5 years, in regards to, is this telling us something? Is there something we need to read between the lines here in regards to what's being offered by these companies?
So this issue, there are 2 specific services that were an issue during the bidding process, which was noted actually in the agenda supplement in March. These were the only 2 haulers that still wanted to service the sticker program, and they were also the only 2 haulers who were willing to service the leaf collection program as well. We initially thought that Waste Management was going to submit a proposal. They didn't, and at the 11th hour, they did not. They gave us a letter stating that they could not meet the scope of services for our proposal, and they actually stated in their letter that they were not willing to service the leaf and the sticker program. That was also included in the agenda supplement in March. So I do have some concerns. I would like to think that Lakeshore is, if say we're down to those 2 again, Lakeshore seems to be very big into, they're probably the only contractor or hauler that does contract street sweeping. They pretty much have, I don't want to say monopoly, but they bid most, if not all, municipal contracts, and are sometimes the only bidder. And then Leaf is another kind of specialty thing like that. Again, so they could be around and still doing this. And then if Flood Brothers has added to their fleet, I would imagine that you'd be more capable of proposing if we chose to scope this again the next time around.
Mike, just following up on Troy, would you agree with that in regards to, is that where the industry is going?
Yeah, the industry is tremendously consolidated over the last, call it 5 years. And you're seeing the national haulers, kind of back out of some of these requested services that have been known to many of the communities. And so the industry, the way we see it, is going away from the leaf back and going away from the sticker programs, implementing more of the carts. You see, obviously, safety concerns with
Sure.
it. Another thing on, that the city of McHenry's collection schedule for the leaf vac, compared to somebody like East Dundee or any of your neighboring communities that might still do leaf vac in
Mhm.
Lake County or even in McHenry, is that the households get maybe 3, maximum 4 passes a
I would agree
year.
with-
So it's like an every other week
No, I-
or some nature of that. There's not many communities, if any, that I know of, and maybe they're out there,
Yeah.
that have the weekly schedule like this.
No, I understand it,
Yeah.
and it's the nature of this is that, let's face it, it's fall, that's when they fall. You've got this 8-week window that you're trying to get through, and there's a lot of people, moving their leaves, trying to get them to the curb on time. I just want to state one of the things I said already before, that it just, this cannot occur next year, period. It just can't. And I mean, I don't know if someone wants to disagree with that statement, but it just can't, just the way things fell into place. So I thank you very much for you and your crew, being here tonight to answer these questions. I know it's a tough night, but you know what? It's, a lot of these aldermen and staff have, I know you guys have collected a lot of calls, so have we. And I just wanted to leave it at that, and I'll bow back to the mayor. And
I
next.
I appreciate that, and, to answer your initial kind of statement, it is our intention to continue to add to the fleet, because we understand now, what it's gonna take to avoid me having to come in front of you or
Yeah.
anybody from our team.
Thank you, Mike.
In the future, so thank you.
Alderman Strack, go ahead.
Mike, thanks for being here. Just so that we have a little bit more scope on to play off of Alderman Sante's question on equipment, tell us how it works for what you are doing today. You have, let's call it, 2 vehicles have been out collecting on the same route for that garbage pickup day, correct?
We've kind of gotten off of the daily collection.
The normal process would have
The
been
normal
that.
process would be if Monday, collection day for your garbage recycling is today, the leaf vac truck would be coming through on that same day, Monday.
So based on those routes, and what the volume of those routes are in households, how many trucks does it take to work that schedule? Now that you've been in the community, yes, we're behind, but looking at next year and year 3 and 4 and 5, what does that look like to be able to service it in that way?
Our operations team would say 5 trucks, given the nature of the collection route schedules.
So that said, is it Flood Brothers' desire and willingness to purchase those 5 vehicles to be able to service this through the remainder of this contract?
That is our intention, 100%.
Okay. Thank you.
Alderman Glad, go ahead.
Thank you. First thing I want to say is I appreciate you and Troy working together and communicating with the council to let us know what was going on. Needless to say, a hot issue for every one of us that are sitting here. One of the things that I've heard is with those leaves sitting there, there's a destruction of the grass that's underneath, and I don't know if that's actually going to destroy the grass, or will the grass come back? Maybe it just went dormant. I don't know. Do we have an opinion on that, Troy?
Well, all I can tell, I'm not a horticulturist or whatever it is. All I can tell you is that I've been researching a lot of other communities' kind of policies on this dilemma if stuff gets stuck in the parkway for a long time. Most communities who have more in-depth leaf pickup sections of their Public Works website than we do. Note specifically that the leaves sitting on the parkway will not kill the grass forever.
So, my question is if there's destruction of, the grass in the parkways, who's gonna replace it? Is it gonna be up to the city? Is it gonna be up to Flood Brothers? Who's gonna pay for that? I think that's one of the questions that I keep hearing from a lot of constituents. Concerns about their lawn as far as, with those leaves sitting on there for weeks. And when the leaves did get picked up, they say that the grass was dead. Of course, it would be dormant anyway, but I don't know, you know. Again, I'm not a horticulturist either, so I don't know. But what happens in that case if, a lot of this grass doesn't come back, next spring? Are we gonna leave it, for the residents to have to reseed, or are we going to do it? Is Flood Brothers gonna pay for it? You know, I'll give you time to answer that one. The next one that I want to bring up is the fact that, another comment that I've heard a lot from a lot of constituents is the fact that, they've paid for a service that they're not getting, and what kind of compensation are they gonna see for the fact that they didn't get the service that they paid for? Have you got a comment for that, or?
I think it's a tough answer, or, you know, because there are residents that don't pay for the service.
Yes, they do. They pay for the service through, the contract, as far as when they pay for their totes or their bags.
Correct. So
So-
there are residents that place out at the curb and have the monthly, toter program.
Mhm.
There's residents that, put, stickers out and pay by the sticker. But a resident, and then there's some that might not use the stickers and just put out a bulk item a week, standard yard waste, their leaves, or recycling, and take their trash to work. I don't know. So it's one of those, I say it's a tough because, you know, how do you compensate somebody who's, and it's it's part of the monthly rate, a portion of that covers the service cost. And how many residents participate in the LEAF program, and what residents are seeking a credit?
Let's put it this way. I don't want to put you on a spot, okay? But maybe you might think, of something, down the road here for goodwill to our residents, you know, for some kind of compensation, whether it be extra services or whatever, you know.
I could look into that.
$5, $10 off a bill,
Yeah.
whatever you guys might think, you know, between you and Troy. Something that, like I say, to our residents, you know, I don't want to just say that we're feeding them a bone, but at least we're showing some kind of, respect for the fact that they did pay for the service.
Understood.
You know. Another question I have is, and I'm as guilty as probably every, alderperson here, calling up Troy, probably some of them calling you, as far as hot spots, you know, leaves that weren't picked up. And it's great, you know, that you made every effort you could with extra trucks, and then, of course, then others broke down, and then you had to use it for that. But when we're doing that, are we slowing up the process? Because, what was it, last week, Monday, that we were going to be back on until another truck broke down, we were going to be back on the regular schedule. And when we're starting to do all those extras, you know, pickups, are we getting away from doing the regular route? And is that just, I'm just asking that question. Are we slowing ourselves up? Are we slowing up the process, to where then you got areas like Fox Ridge that haven't seen a truck in 4 weeks?
So I can actually speak to that a little bit. These requests that have been coming in, typically, if we get single addresses that are not in the area that they are working on that day, I will typically hold them until I confirm with the route manager that they're working in that area. So if they are working west of Route 31, I am not going to send them a request to catch a single address that is east of Route 31, just for the sake of, you know, we are looking at this in terms of the city in its entirety. And if they spend all day with very limited trucks chasing single requests, the ultimate amount of leaves that they pick up in the big picture will suffer.
And I can understand, you know, if I was that one individual, that called and wanted the leaf pickup and we accommodated it, I'm gonna be the happiest person. I'm gonna tell 150 people on, Facebook, that I got my leaves picked up, and there's 149 people now that are saying, well, how come mine weren't? You know, so trying to help our residents sometimes on that one here or one there, and then the rest of the block doesn't get picked up, or the area. I tend to wonder, you know, does that just irritate the rest of our residents that much more?
So that is not how I've been handling it. Like I said, I've been sticking to blocks and kind of neighborhoods and sections. And then the individual requests, we have been filtering and trying to deliver them on the days that they are working in that area.
Because I know there was one that, a specific address, and you guys picked up the whole block, but then what winds up is the whole neighborhood around it didn't get picked up, and still hasn't, well, just finally got picked up. So, you know what I'm saying? I mean, are we just throwing, you know, fuel on the fire? I don't know. But that's something that we ought to think about when we're, you know, trying to accommodate the requests that we get. Because if we start getting too many of those and it's affecting the route, you know, are we messing up? On another note, we've talked about the amount of trucks out there. Troy, do you have any idea? Could you find out for us our last two scavenger companies that we had out there? How many trucks did they use? You know, it's kind of unfair for them because of the fact that their truck broke down, and maybe they need to have a safety truck or something, you know, to when a truck does break down. But how many trucks did it take the last service to do that?
So I wasn't able to get those answers out of Lakeshore nor Waste Management. I spoke with Marengo Disposal. They had our contract 10 years ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I want to say they had like in the 8 to 10 range. I spoke with other municipalities, Woodstock most notably. They utilize 4 machines and they self-perform.
Okay. I'm just stating, if we had, you know, we're asking for extra trucks, do we know if we need the trucks? If they don't break down, can we do the service? And one of the things that we don't want to do is you'd never want, especially the first couple weeks, you don't want to start falling behind, because then it's about the 4th week that all of a sudden all hell breaks loose and everything falls all at once. And that's where we become, the biggest problem is when we're taking and we're falling behind, and then you have the biggest drop of all the trees, and now you've really got a mess. And then you'll never, you know, it takes weeks and weeks and weeks to catch up. And that's where we get the problems with no pickup for 4 weeks, you know. So, just food for thought on it, some of those things. You know, I would appreciate it if you and Troy get together and discuss some of those things that I brought up.
I definitely appreciate your comments, and thank you.
So for council's clarification, you're talking about taking the fleet to 5 next year?
That's our intention, yes, yeah.
All right. Alderman Miller.
I think the best thing we can do right now for our residents is to continue to inform them on the process, because there's a lot of misinformation out there right now. So I would love to see Monty maybe posting something on the website. I know we're too late for the newsletter, but I think good information will settle a lot of the disinformation that's out there. People just, you know, they're not home, they don't know if you came, if you didn't come. So I think we need to over-inform to get over the hump. I think you guys are doing a great job in trying to catch up. I get it. It's nature. You never know what's going to drop. But I think our responsibility is to keep our residents in the loop. So thank you, Troy.
So I've actually got a question for Flood Brothers, because I have been holding off. I've been giving the location update to council on a day-to-day basis, but it didn't seem that you guys were quite prepared in terms of having the control over the day-to-day operations and the locations to issue the locations you were working. Are you guys prepared to give us day-to-day information of the locations that you're working that we can blast out? Okay, I will work with you guys to do that.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
I just want to say, again, thank you all, and, from our family and our team, we apologize for, the situation we put you guys in, and, we'll stand before the contract and our service and make sure that everything's done before, the end of the service, collection season comes to an end. So thank you, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, sir. You too. Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead. Yep. Yeah, I will.
I'm good.
Yeah, I got it, but
I got you.
all right, I'm gonna open up for public comment. Is there anyone from the public that'd like to make a public comment regarding the city refused leaf pickup? Sir? If you could come up to the podium, please state your name and address for public record. Cody will go ahead and turn it on for you. Thanks, Cody.
My name is Howard Braun, B-R-A-U-N, 4222 Ponca Street, McHenry. I'm retired now. I sit home basically every daylight hours. And to say that they're working on 7 days a week, I find that very hard to believe because I haven't seen a truck in about 3 weeks. Okay? I've got the same problem on the lawn. The first time they picked up was late to begin with. The grass is dead underneath. Granted, it probably will come back in the springtime, but that doesn't solve our problem now. We're not getting any services. The actual garbage pickup is fine, no problem with that. But I don't have enough bags and equipment to load all this stuff up by myself. I'm no youngster, I'm 81 years old, and I've been around the block. And I relied on the leaf pickup because I've been on the tractor and on the blower for the past 3 weeks trying to keep up. And I just keep on adding and adding, and it's blowing away. I'm doing the same stuff over and over again, and I'm tired of it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Any others, public comment? Sir? State your name and address for public record, please.
Dave Bauer, 3614 Grand. I've lived at my address 34 years and seen all these contracts. And in the beginning, like the last previous hauler, I won't say their name, but they had struggles in the beginning of the leaf pickup the first year, but they got better as the first year went on. I have no complaint with like Mr. Braun said, there's no complaint with the garbage, the recycle, any of that. The guys are really friendly. They're consistent on time all the time. They don't race up and down the streets. But this leaf pickup, Mr. McClatchy's probably tired of hearing from me because I was messaging him every week, not complaining, just telling him what's going on so he knows. Because I don't want to call down here and complain to City Hall. I'll just talk to who I'm supposed to, my immediate alderman. But I meet with 9 other retirees. I'm retired myself, so I'm like Mr. Braun, I'm home quite a bit. So I see what goes on, and I meet with 9 retired guys every morning for coffee. And they live in various spots in the city. They all are saying the same thing. It got to be 3 and 4 weeks. They weren't seeing anybody. And now mine just got picked up after 5 weeks and yesterday. But then I talked to some other neighbors. Theirs got picked up, but a bunch got left behind. They're saying whoever's pulling the truck is going too fast for the guy with the hose. So, if it's a real long pile, then it's getting left behind. If it's a small one, it gets picked up. But I'm just telling you what I'm hearing from my neighbors.
Sure.
And that's all I can comment about is my neighbors and myself.
Sure.
So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Call anytime.
Any other public comment? I appreciate the constituents that came out today. Obviously, this is a concern, and I'm hoping that Mike and Troy can get this worked out. Obviously, this year it's kind of to say it's going to get caught up, and we're going to, it's just not going to happen overnight here. So we know that. But for next year, Mike, I'd like to sit with you and Troy after this, discuss what the plans are, so that way we can bring it back to council and the public for next season right away. Just so that way we have a game plan and get everyone to feel a little bit better about their leaves getting picked up next year. Is that fair? All right.
Mayor,
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I've got one more thing, and that's the fact that, and it was just brought up as far as the fact that, they pick up the leaves and, part of it doesn't get picked up because they can't get all the way out, especially if you got a wider parkway. However, the problem winds up is, and maybe it's because of the amount of leaves that are there, but if you take them any closer to the street, they're in the street. You know, in order to get everything picked up, you don't want your residents throwing everything in the street. If we'd had a real bad rainstorm, we'd have had sewers clogged everywhere. I saw that happen about 15, 18 years ago. I was out there with rakes actually digging out grates. So, I don't know, do we need to ask them to have an extension put on those things or what in order to, or somebody to get out of the truck and rake it closer? I'll leave it at the fact that you don't need to answer that right now, but food for thought, you know, as we go down the road for next year, what could be done so that that doesn't happen, because you don't want leaves in the road all over the place.
So Mike, well, I forget your name, sir. Paco, yeah. So is the issue of that, or is it people just, of your staff just trying to get as much up as possible, that we're just trying to move along quickly and just?
Reaches about 4 to 5 feet from the street line, so if it's past that mark, it doesn't reach far.
Okay.
Where some of these are pretty wide, we clean up as far as the whole thing reaches.
Okay. All right. So maybe that's something that we maybe get out to the public in our, you know, packet that goes out, or our newsletter information. I mean, I think that'll take up a couple pages for next year, so the public and everyone's on the same page of what's happening next year for leaf pickup. So, all right. Thank you,
Mayor.
Yeah.
When you get that in the package, let's make sure that everybody is told the fact that putting leaves on the streets is against city ordinance, so that we don't have, because heard some hellacious stories that people didn't want it sitting on their parkways that long, and so they raked it all into the street, and kind of a safety issue there.
Sure. All right. Thank you very much, Mike, and your team. Thank you. And residents, thank you for coming. All right. And those on Zoom, obviously we're hearing you on social media, so we'll get this rectified quickly, and hopefully an update here in the next week or so. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a discussion and processing with the process regarding the update of the City of McHenry Comprehensive Plan. City Planner Cody Sheriff is here. Cody, floor is yours.
Oh, sorry, Cody, you want me out of here, don't you? Do I need to totally shut down, Cody? No. Right there.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so I'm here tonight to give City Council an update for the comprehensive plan scope. We are planning to release an RFQ in December here, and so we're kind of here tonight to provide some feedback, or get some feedback, or kind of provide City Council an update on the scope of what our staff's expectations are, maybe clarify any questions that you may have as a council, as well as another discussion out of a potential expansion of the scope, looking at a downtown area plan update to coincide with the renewal of the TIF district. So that way we have, you know, some updated planning documents as we extend the useful life of the TIF. So just to kind of give you an outline, we'll just give you a planning roadmap of kind of updates to our critical planning documents or assets to the city. I'll provide an overview of just comprehensive plans, just to make sure that everybody has a brief or a base understanding of the purpose and role that a comprehensive plan is and how it can service you as elected officials. Plan development, just the target outcomes that staff is anticipating as part of this process and that we are hoping to achieve with a comprehensive plan update. And then also going on to a downtown area plan update with City Council discussion and consideration for some scoping items there. Just an overview for the planning roadmap. We've already budgeted $200,000 for the comprehensive plan update. And of course, the next step would be with the amount of investment currently occurring in the downtown, we feel that it is probably a higher priority to do a downtown area plan update, and then followed by a unified development ordinance, which is basically another way of saying a zoning ordinance. So comprehensive plans are comprehensive, right? The plan for growth and development, they're 10 to 15 years out, encompasses 1.5 miles beyond the city limits, establishes a shared vision of the future of the city, as well as establishes measurable goals and objectives to achieve that vision of the community. Good plan, it should answer 4 fundamental questions of where we are now, where we're headed, where do we want to go, and how are we going to get there. How is it used? As elected officials, it's a medium of communications, being able to communicate to potential residents or even to potential investors in the community of kind of what our goals and objectives are, as well as to kind of articulate, where they could move their business to and where that would be appropriate. It's going to help City Council prioritize public investments, right? Like unlimited wants and needs, scarce resources, making sure that those investments are the highest priority items to your residents. It's a means of demonstrating and measuring progress. So what is growth? What does good growth look like? What does bad growth look like? And so that way you have that answer. It also provides justification for land use decisions, especially those that may be controversial. Just a brief overview of just some of the elements that are included in a comprehensive plan. One is you got your baseline assessment, that's your existing conditions report, looking at where you are today. Usually it typically involves a outline of all the steps taken and public engagement that was done as part of the planning, the comprehensive plan development process. You got your vision statement, and then you have your goals and objectives and the plans and recommendations to achieve those goals and objectives. And then finally, the most important aspect, especially in the past 10 years of planning, is the implementation strategy. So looking at funding strategies, responsibilities, next steps, those kinds of things to make sure that this isn't just a plan that sits on a shelf, but is a living, breathing document that you can use and should update yearly to evolve as you make progress towards your goals. So building the plan. Some of the target outcomes that staff has identified internally when we go for the RFQ in December is that we really want this to have a strong emphasis on community engagement. So looking at target outcomes, target amount of outreach, how many participants, making sure we get, good demographic representative sample size of residents to include in the comprehensive plan to really establish the foundational validity of some of the findings of the comprehensive planning process. We want to be an implementation focused plan. So again, a living, breathing document, something that we can use to help us achieve our goals and objectives every year, as well as consolidate relevant themes and ideas of existing planning documents. We have a lot of those. I think the idea is to take away the good and kind of retire those plans, and then hopefully in the future, as time allows, to update those sub-area plans as we go. But also identifying clear measures for successful growth. So again, what does successful growth look like every year? So as part of the comprehensive plan development process, typically you'd have a consultant, they'll do an in-depth analysis. I know just, working with Doug, we'd be targeting key economic drivers for like manufacturing, really kind of what are the big, drivers of our local economy here, and then what strategies that we can develop to help bolster those economic drivers. And then of course, as many other planners are doing right now in McHenry County and in the United States, is everybody wants a housing market analysis to kind of determine where their existing housing stock is. It'll tell us a lot, it gives us a good idea of kind of what to expect or what are our target outcomes for housing or that we want to pursue in the future. I mean, both are very, very interrelated to economic development as well. So next steps before we go into the sub-area plan discussion is, so we're planning on doing an RFQ release here in 2022 next month. January we'll be focusing on consultant selection. We'll bring that back to City Council. And then in February, we'll be working between that time in February for finalizing the final scope of services to expect with that consultant. We'll come back in March as well in 2023 for approval of the public engagement plan. So City Council will have the chance and opportunity to provide input on how, to implement the public engagement strategies. And then finally, we'll go straight into the plan development process. That's about, a 12-month process, give or take. And so we'd end in about, April 2024 slash mid kind of summer area. Does anybody have any questions about the comprehensive planning process thus far?
I've got one. You keep talking about public engagement. Are you talking, when you say public engagement, are you talking the city council? Or are you talking about the community?
The whole community.
And what kind of engagement are you planning on?
So that's what would be discussed in the public engagement plan that will be approved by City Council. That we'd be working with the consultant to kind of determine that. I know we're looking at, we want to do creative community engagement strategies to make sure that we reach that, representative sample of community engagement that we're targeting.
I mean, we could take and we can create a plan for development and have developers come in here and develop all kinds of stuff. But the question is are we developing what our residents in the city want as far as the type of commercial growth that we need in our town? I mean, we've talked about entrepreneurs, we've talked about small businesses. We need to take and focus on that, and that need is probably the basis of your entire plan for the whole, almost the whole city type comprehensive plan. What we need to develop to get the types of businesses we have to service our residents. And that's, let's keep them away from going all the way to Crystal Lake or going all the way down to Volo or wherever. Let's get them to shop McHenry more, and that means we've got to bring the type of businesses that they want here.
Absolutely, 100%. So yeah, that would all be covered, especially with the market analysis that we want done as part of this, and developing implementation strategies to attract those types of businesses. So they'd be looking at, what type of workforce housing is required, how much of it is needed, comparison to other communities as well, to remain competitive with our surrounding neighboring municipalities and things like that. And also while taking a look at, public infrastructure, and pretty much everything else in the city. So, were there any more questions so far?
Alderman Miller?
I just wanted to share that I'm super excited about this, having come from planning and zoning before my city council election. I know we were doing a lot of band-aiding and looking at old comprehensive plans, well, not really comprehensive, just old zoning maps, and going, why is that this and why is that there? So I think your first 4 bullet points, where are we? Where do we want to be? How do we get there? And what does it look like when we're done? Is exciting, because it'll be the first time in a long time we'll have done a comprehensive plan. So I'm so excited for your endeavor. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments by council?
Moving forward.
Oh, you got more? Go ahead.
Still gonna keep going. Yeah,
Go for it.
This is just the pause for the comprehensive plan. Make sure
Got it.
everyone's on board there. So downtown area plan update. We're gonna go into that. So I think the biggest reason we want City Council to really, for your consideration tonight, is to expand the scope. We wouldn't be doing a budget amendment. That is something we are planning on doing. Hopefully, is planning for next year's budget to include a downtown area plan update. So just to kind of give a background of the downtown planning efforts, we had a TIF district that was established in 2002. In 2003 is when the core downtown sub-area plan that was adopted. That included Main Street, Green Street, Riverside Drive. And then in 2008 and 2009, we had 2 separate text updates that were done as part of Main Street, and as well as separately with the Green Street and Riverside Drive, which was essentially the TIF district boundaries. And so with 2009, I have that highlighted in red because it's about, so now we're on 13 years since the last time those downtown area plans were updated. There's been quite a few significant changes since then. We've had a greater emphasis on, public open space, especially with COVID-19. Of course, I don't need to tell everyone about the economic downturn, but also just in changing preferences in general. And so as we're looking to reestablish the TIF district extension, having an updated comprehensive plan sub-area plan to go along with that will also provide us a little bit more safety, a legal safety net for land use decisions as if there's any type of acquisition that needs to occur as part of that update. So what has changed? Obviously, there's been significant public and private investment. I won't go through them all, but recently the City Council approved the Downtown Streetscape Master Plan with engineering that's ongoing. We have the Miller Point Park public improvements that really can serve as a seasonal retail entertainment destination, as well as kind of serve as the proverbial kind of connection between Riverside Drive and Green Street. So some of the challenges that are kind of outlined ahead. One is, this is where for City Council discussion tonight, is looking at Green Street, Riverside Drive, potential vehicular connection while utilizing Miller Point as the focal point with the connection between Green Street and Riverside Drive, so kind of looking at those analysis. Brownfield sites or environmental contamination, looking at some of the challenges that we face, especially near the metro station for environmental cleanup that may be hindering redevelopment. IL-31 expansion, the impact on Main Street, again, redevelopment west of the metro station, the industrial properties, and of course, economic resilience. As we approach an economic contraction, we want to make sure that, looking at our land use patterns to make sure that we have a sustainable growth in the downtown. So now for the primary discussion tonight is for the downtown area plan update, the scope. So we would, staff is anticipating that if City Council would like us to proceed with this for next year and plan the budget for that, is we include the boundaries of Main Street, Green Street, Riverside Drive. Obviously, update the vision and future land use maps for those areas. For the Green Street, Riverside Drive sub-area, we would want to do an existing land use inventory and analysis, looking at our competitors in our downtown, other riverfront communities to look at, what are some of our needs. Obviously, some of those are pretty evident, like with the, a hotel, some of those things, but other factors like housing and kind of what type of housing we would want, or to attract a certain type of, commercial business in the downtown based on the vision that we established. We'd like to do a scenario plan for a Green Street / Venice Avenue vehicular connection and looking at alternatives and have an alternative analysis done to see what a commercial corridor looking eastward along the Boone Lagoon, kind of what that would look like. Develop a conceptual land use plan between Green Street and Riverside Drive with said vehicular connection that's identified. And then looking at the Main Street sub area, we would definitely want to focus on and identify strong implementation strategies for redeveloping the industrial property west of the metro station. And then with, of course, the Main Street's the IL-31 expansion, looking at pedestrian crossing alternatives between Main Street and Green Street. So as the City Council may recall, with the 31 expansion, it's going to be right in, right out only for vehicles. Then IDOT will be eliminating pedestrian crossings. Of course, I know most of you who have crossed there know that you're taking your life in your own hands if you want to go through there. But looking at alternative connections, whether that be to the south on John Street or just basically keeping what IDOT is currently doing, which is the crossing at 120. So happy to answer any questions, hopefully get some direction from City Council tonight, and we can plan the budget for next year.
Thank you. Alderman Glenn, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to mention the fact that we've done these comprehensive plans before and we've wasted them. So when you bring this back to us, I don't want to just see a comprehensive plan of what we're going to do today. I want to know when we're going to have a plan as far as whether it's yearly or every other year that we tweak that comprehensive plan. Because that comprehensive plan is supposed to be a working tool, and we never work the tool. So we waste all that money to do a comprehensive plan that looks great, and 3 weeks later, a developer comes in, and we don't want to lose that developer, so we're going to give them whatever they want doesn't matter whether it goes completely with our comprehensive plan, and it just changes everything. And that's why if that situation comes in, then we need to adjust other things. You know, I mean, many years ago, we did a comprehensive plan where we actually had 12 meetings, one a month for a year, with residents and chamber people and all kinds of residents within the city, and came up with a great comprehensive plan. But again, I mean, it gave us the percentages of how much commercial, how much of everything in the city. But then as soon as we approved the development, it changed. Well, if this was slated to be commercial and we wind up going residential, then maybe we need to change our comprehensive plan so that there's another area to keep that balance together. And again, the economy changes, times change, so maybe we don't need as big of an area for commercial. I mean, so that's why I say, you know, it's a working tool, but we need to keep it working, and we've never have.
Yeah, I think that really one of the big emphasis on with this comprehensive plan update, I know that the last comprehensive plan that was performed was all done in-house. It was unfunded. I don't know. With this planning document, this is supposed to be a living document, like you said. We want it to be something that we can easily update every year. We can track our measures for growth and continually evolve the plan as time progresses.
Alderman Strack?
Cody, thanks so much for your work on this. The presentation looks great, and I look forward, as Alderwoman Miller said, to having this updated. I also, having some planning and zoning background, just thoroughly excited to see this actually come together and be updated and ready. You know, I've been pushing that for a long time, so I appreciate your work on getting it here, and I'm obviously in full support along with, I believe, Alderwoman Miller.
I want a really big map.
I can make you one right now.
Go ahead, Ross.
Thanks, Mayor. So, yeah, Cody, thank you. I appreciate you putting this together. It's great. The one thing that we need to get out of tonight's meeting, though, is if the city council is in support of funding. Now, granted, we're starting the budget process here within the next couple of months, but, you know, we're looking to fund this sub-area plan for the downtown. As we got into this RFQ process with the comp plan, we realized with all the interest in our downtown area, including Main Street, Riverside, and Green, we really saw a desire to have that sub-area plan done for the downtown because, you know, we're seeing, you know, some residential interest, we're seeing some commercial interest in our downtown, and I think having that plan to guide us is a very integral part of that overall comp plan. So if anything tonight, if we, you know, again, funding-wise, Cody, what are we looking at in maybe an additional 50,000?
I'd say 50 to 100.
Yeah, we don't have a number for it, right? So overall, 300,000 for the comp plan, and I will state that all of your communities are pretty much going through this right now. Woodstock's doing it, the McHenry County's doing it. They've all seen the need with the interest in development. All their plans are outdated, and so we're right with them. You know, this is a professional firm doing this. We're not doing this in-house. Doug led the charge 20 years ago and did a phenomenal job. You know, we didn't have the money to go outside and do it then. You know, we do have some funding now available to us to where we can actually have a firm who does this on a regular basis. Again, Doug, that's not throwing you under the bus. The planning documents that we have, they're just outdated. You know, we did what we did back then. So that's all I have. I'm just looking to get some guidance, and if you're willing to spend that money on that sub-area plan.
Thank you, Ross. Alderman Harding, go ahead.
Just a quick one. Can you help me visualize what 31 might look like when it goes by Main Street? Like, how much of that is being eaten up? Is it gonna go right up against Corner Tap, the other side? And is that where you meant the right in, right out in that intersection right there?
Right, yeah. So with the connection with Main Street, so that's kind of came up with the streetscape plan. So when 31 is expanded, it's gonna eat those parking spaces there. They're gonna create a longer queuing length for the left turn lane on the 120. And so they're gonna be eliminating the pedestrian crossings right there on, between, on Main Street and 31. So really, you can only a left turn, or, you know, right turn out from Main Street, or a right turn in or right turn out from Main Street. You won't be able to turn left coming out of Main anymore.
So there will still be sidewalks
Correct, yeah.
on the east and west side.
Yeah, there'll be enough room.
You will just not have the crosswalks.
Right.
You won't have there will be no hashed crosswalks to get from the east side of Main to the west, or the east side of 31 to the west side of 31.
Maybe-
About 4 feet of sidewalk is all though. That's all that's gonna be left about that, right?
Right,
5
it's 4 to
feet.
5 feet. I think
Yeah.
I think it's set for 5. Troy
It's-
actually just pulled it up right
It
now.
is certainly
It's gonna be
thin.
narrow.
Yeah.
It's gonna be narrow.
Troy, can you send that to all the council?
If you're a pedestrian.
Troy, can you send that to all the council? I know
That's not the latest.
we've had it in the past, but maybe the latest one send out, just so everyone has it.
Yeah, so this is the preferred alternative sheet. They're actually, in the process of working on phase 2 plans right now. It's showing 5 foot at these stations of the roadway though, but I can email this out.
Thank you.
Has there been any thought about Main Street being a one-way street, going west?
That was presented in the streetscape plan. Yes.
Alderman Strack?
Yeah, I'm fully in support of adding the additional sub-area plan for the downtown to what we're looking to have on that RFQ.
Alderman Miller?
I would agree and lend my support. If we're gonna do it, we need to do it as one big comprehensive plan and not piecemeal it. So, to add that makes total sense to me.
Thank you. Alderman Devine?
I agree.
Thank you. Alderman Hardy? Okay. Alderman McClatchy?
Yeah, I agree. I'm a little confused though, the streetscape. I'm sorry, the streetscape plans, is that before or after this?
So, I mean, the goal, I think, in the long run is, I think the sub-area plan is gonna identify, you know, how, I mean, we already know what we need to do. We need to get a TIF district going over Main Street to be able to fund the engineering improvements. But I think the plan is, it helps us legally to have that identified in a planning document, as well as we kind of proceed with that process as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
So the streetscape is more of a beautification, where the sub-area plan identifies uses for properties within the downtown. So where are we gonna put our multifamily? Where are we gonna put our commercial? You know, the private properties are identified under the sub-area plan. The streetscape is for the right-of-way and the public property.
Thank you. Alderman Glad?
I didn't even get a chance to hit my butt.
You don't, you've had it on the whole time.
No, I just did it. No, getting back to the regular comprehensive plan totally though, we're looking at traffic patterns also and all that, correct?
Transportation.
All right. Are we going to look a little bit more in detail as far as opportunities to connect a lot of these shopping centers, especially down 31 and Richmond Road? You know, we've talked, and I think it's been a discussion for 20+ years to connect from the old Kmart lot, to Fast Eddie's and all that, and connect. In other words, let's see if we can get some interconnections on these shopping centers so that, we keep them off the main drags. Makes it safer, it keeps traffic flowing better, not just there, but anywhere along, 31 or even 120.
Right, yeah, I think it's definitely gonna look at, those types of scenarios, as well as, really also how is transportation hindering development? If we're looking at, you know, if you look at Bull Valley Road or county highways, if you'll notice there's a lot of cornfields that are undeveloped. There's a reason for that. There's a lot of infrastructure issues, that are associated with that. So it would go into all those kind of details.
I know in Crystal Lake, on Crystal Lake Avenue, we took in, the Weggers and, property there, the dental, there was an interconnection started so that development over there would try to do the same thing in the future to keep traffic off and interconnect those lots.
Alderman Santi?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the proposal and what you presented with us. Are we looking at, your first, slides started with, the comprehensive plan, and you're going into RFP next month?
Correct, yeah.
So is this a comprehensive plan then that will have that plan and the downtown as one?
Correct, so yeah, we
Okay.
would be doing, I mean, there's also the benefit of, I don't know, overwhelm people with constant engagement, like, all right, we just got done with the comp plan, now we need more people to come participate in the survey for the downtown, so there's a benefit to doing both at the same time.
Yeah, and something that I discovered actually last year when I was in a more of a commercial trade show environment down in Kane County is I noticed a municipality, to what Alderman Glad had mentioned early in this proceeding tonight, is there was a municipality that was in engagement in this trade show type of presentation, and their whole, they were there because they were getting public input on, I can't recall what exactly the plan was. It was some kind of, downtown area, certain intersections. And I mean, I noticed it, I thought about that, but are we looking at that type of input in regards to, so we'll see a Cody Sheriff sitting out there next to the Fiesta Days corn dog truck,
that would make sense.
showing the plan and getting some input. I mean, I'm sorry, I put it way out there, but yeah, okay. No, that's what I'm thinking, and that's what I'm visualizing there when I, talk about, public engagement, because now you've got them in an atmosphere that they're comfortable with. You're not bringing them into this area. You don't have to put them at a podium, and they'll speak more freely then, at least in my thoughts.
Right, I think we're looking at, all of our major events, like Fiesta Days especially, just depending on the way things line up. Even maybe potentially with, within the budget itself they already have, doing maybe even a separate event. I mean, McHenry, the residents, they like a good festival, they like a good party. So maybe doing something special specifically aimed at, attracting kind of the, bringing the people out, engaging with them, in its own event as well.
Right, so if I touched on that, Cody and I had a really positive conversation with one of these firms, just as we're kind of looking for firms to put this RFQ out to. And, they use these events, they use like Miller Point, for instance, like at a Light the Night event. They'll set up a big booth, they'll invite the residents that are at that event into the booth, do their surveying, talk to the residents, see what they want. It's all about that public engagement. So they're using Fiesta Days, they're using Blues, Brews, and Barbecues to reach these people, to get the data that they need from the public, among other ways of doing it as well.
Right. There'll be mailers, physical mailers, making sure that we target those demographic groups to make sure we have a representative feedback for the comp plan.
The problem winds up is where you're getting your information from, though, is the party people. The people that like to go out and party and go to restaurants and all that. What about the regular stores and everything else?
They will
The
also
regular
be brought in.
residents?
This is
Why I'm saying,
yes,
so that we get a complete vision
Yes.
of everybody in McHenry and not just certain types of functions.
We're just using examples, but they have many, and you as a city council will see the methods that they're going to use before they're implemented. Like, we will discuss those things with you. So they're trying to reach all demographics, the older population, the younger population. It's not just a party.
Yeah. And I apologize if I brought it that way, because I saw this first at a trade show, and there was nothing free at the trade show, and there was no alcohol beverages there. And bring something like this to maybe when there's an open house at Peterson Park, events like that also.
Well, it might not be bad to incorporate it with the Coffee with the Chief. you know, if you publicize that, maybe not the first couple meetings, but after that, it might get more people to want to be involved in it, and it might also bring more attendance for the chief's coffee also. You'll have to make 2 pots instead of 1.
All right, so everyone's in favor? Alderman Glab, are you in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we're good?
Wait a minute. Now my mic's on, yes.
Okay. Cody, we're good?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, appreciate it. I remember when we hired Cody, the first thing, well, one of the first things was this. He said,
Is that memorable?
yeah, it was, he's like, this is ridiculous, we need to get this done. So I'm glad we're finally the wheels are in motion, and I'm excited to get this done as soon as possible, so thank you. Next item on the agenda is removal of dead and diseased trees and bushes from private property. So we'll go ahead and,
Thanks,
Ross,
Mayor.
you want to go ahead and get
Yeah,
this going?
so I was asked if we could have a discussion on this. Right now, our current ordinance, as you read in the agenda supplement, allows us, if a tree is dead or diseased on a property, it poses a hazard to people or the public right of way or property, we can have it deemed dangerous by one of our 2 on-staff arborists, and that allows us through our ordinances to go through the court system if we have to, but to notify the individual that the tree is dead and dangerous and it needs to be removed from the property. In some cases, the tree and where that tree would fall do not pose a danger to any other property other than the property that it's on. And our ordinances do not allow us to make that person remove that tree. So I did some research through other communities. The majority of the communities have the same ordinance that we have, that they were only required to be removed if it poses a hazard to the neighboring properties. There are a couple ordinances out there that do require all dead and diseased trees to be removed, regardless of if it poses a hazard. So, you know, we do have a few dead trees in town that are in people's backyards that don't pose, and we don't deem them dangerous, so we do not notify the residents that they have to remove them. What that does is creates some tension between neighbors, because the other neighbors don't want to look at a dead tree. And that's kind of where we stand right now. So we wanted to bring this to council to say, hey, and from a legal standpoint, David, maybe you can jump in on this. I think we have every right to make somebody remove a dead tree from their yard. I don't know. We haven't had a huge issue with this over the years. Every few years it gets brought up. 90% of the time we probably ask those people to remove that tree and they get it done, but we do have a few instances where they're like, they can't afford to remove the tree or they just want to ignore us. But again, if it doesn't pose a hazard to a neighboring property, we don't have a teeth in our ordinance to make someone remove it.
I'd be surprised if we had that ability, but we certainly looked at it. No, it was a good option.
Oh, it was good, okay.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're walking on somebody's property and they cut their tree.
Well, we wouldn't be requiring them to remove it. And so the way this works now is that if it's deemed dangerous, we send them notice. If they fail to comply, we can go before the adjudication judge, who could, based on the arborist's determination, right. I mean, it's one of these, it's not us going on that property to remove that tree, it's us requiring them. But then at the end of the day,
My guess is in most of those cases, those people can't afford it.
that's correct. That's correct. Correct.
And is our arborist allowed to go on that property without permission?
No.
So,
But they, you know, they can stand in the right of way and determine a lot from the right of way. Or the neighbor's yard is usually what happens.
I struggle with if there's not a imminent concern to the neighbor, to the public, to whatever that is. I understand the fact that a neighbor may not want to look at it, but I don't think it's our place if there's a dead tree that's not going to impose any kind of a risk to anyone else, that we have any leverage in that at all. Just my 2 cents.
I agree with Alderman Strack. I don't want to become the tree police. And if it doesn't pose a public threat, I would not want to be involved. And again, it often comes down to financial ability to take a tree down, depending on how old your dead tree is. I just took down a maple tree that was over $1,000 to take it down. And it was at nobody's risk but my own.
Yeah. It's basically before council because I asked Ross, to look into it and then he decided to bring it to council. Situation winds up is okay, so you have an arborist that looks at a tree and he can't determine the stability of that tree from where he's at. That tree falls and it hits, well, it doesn't have to hit, it just, falls on the neighbor's property. Person who owns the tree cuts it at the property line and that's all his responsibility. And it's the other neighbor that has to get the responsibility to have it removed, and that's per law. And if we can determine that it's a dead tree and need it removed, then we don't have to worry about whether or not we're making the right determination. It's dead, you know, needs to go. I had a dead ash tree in the side of my house. You know, it was about 35 feet tall. Yeah, I took it down myself, but I can understand that. Yeah, there's a cost to it. I've got one tree that I tend to wonder, it's healthy as could be, but someday it goes, it's going to probably cost me about $2,500 probably to get it taken down. Hopefully it'll be $4,000 by the time it has to come down, you know, but it's part of the responsibility of being a good neighbor and a homeowner. There are costs to being a homeowner, and you know, if you got trees growing in your yard and they die, I think you need to be responsible enough to take those out.
All I'm looking for tonight is if I need to bring an ordinance before you to have all dead trees removed from private properties moving forward. If not, we'll move forward with the ordinance the way it is. I just need some direction. I was actually asked to bring this before city council, so I just didn't bring it to you. To bring it to you, I was asked, so.
So, no from me. No. Kalachi?
You know, I'm with Sue on this, you know, we're at the tree police and, you know, it's an eyesore. I think sending them a couple good messages, get rid of it, but beyond that, I don't know what we can do.
I think a lot of them that are old trees, they just don't have the funds in order to take them down. That's what it really comes down to. So, I mean, so sending them tickets or whatever does not help their situation financially anyway. So I think we just got to help each other and help each other, you know, the neighbors, and do whatever we can to help them.
And generally speaking, we have very good track record of getting these individuals to remove the tree if it's, you know, compliance. Yeah, it's a compliance. Some are a little bit more difficult, but generally speaking, we have good compliance.
Thank you. Appreciate you bringing it to council. Any staff reports? You don't have anything, Bill?
Turkey trot is, Thanksgiving morning. That's usually a big draw.
Your mic's not.
Thank you, Bill.
Turkey trot is Thanksgiving morning. The Kiwanis Club puts that on. It's out of East Campus always, and all the funds go back to the community. So that was, one event coming up. We had the Toys for Tots parade over the weekend, bitter cold, but we still had some diehards that came out, so.
Thank you. Ross?
I just want to give Bill kudos to him and his staff. I know you weren't putting lights on the trees, but every year it gets better. Honestly, I think Pat and the guys do a phenomenal job. So I wanted to give you a shout out.
Yeah, thank you. So, I mean, those guys really do a nice job and then that also, you know, we were spending about $20,000 a year as a city to contract that out and put those lights up. So for us to be able to be willing for Pat and his crew, and that I have nothing to do with it, but Pat and his guys.
You did flip the switch, or plug it in.
Pat tells me I can't crash a desk, so, you know, I got that going for me. But they're working on the street trees this week, so, those aren't lit up, but they will be hopefully by the end of the week, or first thing next week, but the park looks amazing.
Yeah, great job. I second that. Deputy Chief, you got anything? Okay.
Good job. When's the coffee with the chief, the 17th? 17th is the coffee with the chief?
I'm gonna say no.
I think so.
I'm gonna say sure.
I only paid attention because Oakley's gonna be there, so it's coffee with the chief and
A
Oakley.
little rescheduling, so Oakley and Jason.
Right, good.
Oakley.
Oakley.
Coffee with the chief? No.
No.
If you wanna have coffee, we can have coffee.
Oh, that's great.
Coffee with the acting chief.
I have nothing, tonight besides, you know, thanking the Parks Department, for what they did in the park and throughout the downtown area. Amazing. And that's it. City Council comments? Alderman McClatchy, go ahead.
Yeah, just a shout out to the Chamber for the Polar Express. Brought a lot of people into town, and we're on the right track.
Yeah, City Council comments? Come on, Vic, you got something.
The lighting was great. I mean, the presentation was nice, and what Alderman McClatchy just said about the Polar Express. And was that different this year? Because they kept those vehicles going into later hours. Is that normal, like 10 or 11 o'clock?
No, that's new.
Okay.
And we used to pick up the trolleys. We have not the last couple of years. That's the chamber has done that. They've taken that over.
Thank you, Molly, if you're watching out there.
Doubt it. Alderman Miller.
So I had posted some of the choral work and Mayor Jet's lighting of the tree on my Facebook page. Some of you might have seen it. I had several comments is that a Hallmark movie? And I went, no, this is downtown McHenry. So kudos to Bill, your team, Mayor Jet, for your quick plugging it in and making it go.
It was cold out there.
It was cold. It was like 8 below. So it was an awesome evening. And if you weren't in attendance, there were probably 500 people there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there was a lot of people there.
It was a big
especially
crowd.
with that cold. And then the high school choir, that's the other one. Derek
A lot of them
Elvis
in
is the choir.
pajamas. So thank you, Polar Express, for the antifreeze.
Any other city council comments? No? All right, at this time, we're gonna go into executive session, to discuss the purchase of, or lease of real estate property for the use of public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired, 5 ILCS 122C5. Looking for a motion?
Unless you don't.
Alderman Strack?
So moved.
Second by Alderman Santee.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 If you don't mind, please hand those papers back to Jason, please.
You can't keep them.
Secret, top secret.
All right, I need a motion to adjourn. Alderman Strack,
Motion.
second by Alderman Miller.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes.